And I mean, some of the videos we saw this morning, policemen arresting persons for, they said, just holding the placards. What's your impression about how all of this is being built up?
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I think for me, first and foremost, we really need to have a more critical conversation about why do we have this sort of hype and fidgeting and this disturbance and this discomfort, in the government around the protest. What's there about the protest? The protest is simply a group of people who feel aggrieved, who feel discontent about the situation of the country that has led into the kind of economic and social crisis that is having a toll on them and the whole society. And people are saying that, look, we want to take an opportunity to, as citizens, we have a right to protest. We have a right to say no, we don't agree with the way things are going. We have the capacity and the resources to do things better. What is the hype about that? What's happening? And then I keep wondering, you keep sponsoring people or creating people to come out and say, we're not part of the protest, stop protest, don't stop protest. Protest is legitimate. It's constitutionally approved. It is not, and the issues for the protest, which is, in fact, let us just look at the thematic, which is about end bad governance, end hunger. Who, in his or her right senses, within this country or outside this country, will say today that there is no hunger? Even the statistics showed us about a few years ago from a government agency, statistical agency, that 135 million Nigerians are living in multidimensional poverty. Over 65% of Nigerians are living in abject poverty. In fact, since the time these statistics was even brought out, between that time and now, I am sure the figures have even increased with what has happened in this country in the last barely 1 year or thereabouts. And then people are crying, people are hungry, people are yelling. It's for me, it's quite ridiculous. It's like you have a child. You put a carrot before a child that is hungry. And this child is trying to open his mouth and is yelling, please give me food. And you are keeping the carrot away. Rather, on the other hand, you are holding a cane and say, don't cry. Yes, I won't give you this carrot. Don't cry.
I want us to be able to talk a little bit about, the situation that we have on ground here. We have a situation where people are trying to exercise their rights, but we're seeing multiple voices speaking up against it. One of those voices came from the presidency, and most notably from there, of course, worrying statements. But we have seen also from the presidency, at least yesterday's, from the spokesperson of the president saying, look, anyone, even from this government, who threatens people who are trying to exercise their rights is lining themselves, this from Ajuri Ngelale, he says, if they threaten or stop protesters, they are automatically lining themselves up against our commander-in-chief. Because it did seem like the communication from the presidency was split. We were hearing people saying this on one side and then the president coming out and saying something totally. What do you make of that situation? And just to add to that, what we're hearing from security. We have identified the people who may want to hijack this process. And then at the same time, we need to know the people, we're afraid that it might be hijacked by unknown persons. So it does seem like conflicting statements from both security agencies and the presidency. Talk to us a little bit about that dynamic. What's causing this confusion?
First of all, a country of about 230 million estimated population may not be impossible to have about 50 million different views. That's the starting point. So that you have, and I think it's normal, it's democratic, it's okay that you have dissenting views. But what is not okay is the threat that comes from those who have the resources of power, who have control of security. I think that is what is not acceptable. And I'm also glad to know that I think over the days, every day we are seeing the government itself, particularly the presidency, mellowing down in its initial stance. Because they are beginning to see that the protest it's unstoppable. It's a moving train. It's a fast, high-speed moving train. You can't stop it. To say you want to stop it is to probably try to commit suicide. And I think they have been able to also wage it to see that, look, I think it's just better to let these people have their way while we mellow that, so that we also do not create multiple crises. Okay. And for the security that is threatening, I think... I want to believe very strongly that with the signal that is coming out of the presidency, before 1st of August, they will also be forced to mellow down. This is not a war. Okay. This is about citizens who want to freely express themselves.
I know that Mr. Nagbasa has tried to stop the people from coming out to protest himself. But I don't think you've been successful. Maybe you should tell us, because you do identify that there's hunger, don't you?
I've not tried to stop anyone from protesting.
In fact, I saw some posts or narratives of you saying, well...
I did not try to stop anyone from protesting. Rather, I even said protest is not just a constitutional right, it's a fundamental human right. And that I would defend the right of even my enemy, not to talk of my political opponent, to protest against me. And... core supporter of President Tinubu that I am, as a lawyer, I would defend the right of his opponent to protest against him. We don't have any problem with protest. It is the right of citizens to protest. You can even protest. You don't even need under the law a reason to protest. Want to protest, you protest. However, protest is different, totally different from riot. Can't believe. And what people are, there are those who are like my adorable sister here, doctor, who have genuine intentions about protest. You cannot imagine a doctor mobilizing for mayhem, Unfortunately, there are those who have made plans, they are cooking up, making subterranean moves to totally hijack the protest. You have people who lost elections, who are trying to go for regime change,
Is that the impression of the party, the APC?
That is a statement of fact.
Okay. How do you get that?
For instance, Peter Obi and his supporters, Atiku Abubakar and his supporters are fanning the embers of chaos and mayhem under the guise of, we have information to that effect. If he likes, he can threaten to sue me to court as he threatened to sue...
okay, so the information in public domain of these people you have mentioned, which you also have Peter Obi on tape, is he says, look, people have a right to protest.
Look, one of Peter Obi's well-known supporters. What is that his name? Badamusi? What is that his first name?
No, are you talking about Peter himself or his supporters now?
Peter, if his supporter is well-known supporter, who is squatting in a flat in London, says tweets. He says identify APC supporters, identify Bola Tinubu supporters, know their houses, identify their family members, that the information will be useful at the time of the protest. And Peter Obi has not called him out.
So is that how you conclude that Peter Obi is the one sponsoring it?
Of course he is. There's no doubt about that.
Mr. Nokpasa.
Okay.
That is my statement, with all sense of responsibility as a senior lawyer that I am.
Mr. Nokpasa, even if what you're saying is true, so what?
Well,
our security agencies are not able to handle that threat. Is that what you're saying?
Excuse me. The protests, people have, you see, our citizens are actually passing through challenges. There is hunger in the land. And nobody appreciates that fact more than President Tinubu. You go to the market today, a particular product is X price, let's say it's 1,000 naira, you can go tomorrow, it's 1,500 naira. It doesn't make any sense at all. How do citizens survive in such a situation? You understand? Nobody, Shabali, understands that. Nobody appreciates that more than our president. And our president is working.
Pardon me to jump in before you.
Our president is working.
What I understand, you say that because the man who you claim is sitting in London tweeted, and he's a Peter Obi supporter, and so because of that, you blame Peter Obi for that. I'm not blaming.
Your
preceding comment was that you have statements of fact.
Peter Obi has not done. Everybody knows that obedience and Atiku supporters have hijacked. Yes, unless you don't want to face.
So if they have hijacked,
but that means so what?
A genuine grievance of Nigerians over inflation.
Atiku and whoever you are mentioning are in the opposition. And so what? If they don't feel comfortable with the way government is
I did not interrupt you when you are speaking. Show me some respect. Now, why the inflation that is currently ravaging the country and tormenting our citizens, the inflation is caused by Nigeria. So, unless we are deceiving ourselves, there are cartels everywhere. The people selling pepper, they form the cartel. Those selling tomatoes, they form the cartel. Those selling gari, they form the cartel. There was this situation in at this time, excuse me.
We'll come to that point. Dr. Hasso also.
There was people who increased the price.
You've been going on for quite a while. Hold on a second.
Against the price they increased.
Please go ahead.
You know, it's quite unfortunate that we are where we are today in this country because we have a kind of leadership and the aides of this leadership who have deliberately and wickedly, maliciously decided to change the narrative, twist the situation, give it a faulty interpretation of what is going on in the country, just to suit their own political interests. It's so unfortunate. Obedience, Atiku, or whoever, are they the ones that created hunger?
Yeah.
Are they the ones that created the bad governance? Indeed, yes, they are part of that class. And something needs to be clear. People need to understand that this protest is not about a Tinubu, nor is it about an APC. It is about, when they say bad governance, it is something that has been going on in this country for more than 3 decades. And that the current leadership in this country cannot dissociate itself from the long history of where we are today. Okay, Tinubu cannot dissolve it.
I want to be able to talk.
Remember, the leadership of the APC, under the ruling class today, whether they are in APC, they are found in APC, they are found in PDP, they are found in Labour Party, they are found all across the party. This ruling class today cannot dissociate itself from the disaster that Nigeria has found itself. So if there are also people from among their supporters, call them whatever name, who decide today to say that enough is enough. Yeah. This is not how we want this country to be run.
Before you respond, we asked the question, and I still haven't gotten your response to that question. Even if the protest has been hijacked by Atiku, has been hijacked by Peter Obi, it is now political, people are trying to use it to move someone is saying threatening things, there are threats of violence, so what?
Good. I will answer that question. Before I do that, Doctor rightly pointed out that the political class cannot dissociate itself, the present political class cannot dissociate itself from the bad governance that we've encountered in the country over the years. That is true. However, if there is a poster child for good governance in Nigeria, it is Bola Tinubu.
No, you are an APC member, so you should say that.
No, it's not as an APC member. If there is anybody, there is no politician in this country, nobody who has ever governed any space in this country that can boast of having provided better governance than Asiwaju Bola Tinubu. No.
Is that because of the cost of living? Is it better?
No, I'm talking about background, history. I mean, you can't. Just if you can find me a politician in Nigeria that you can say ruled better, has performed better than Bola Tinubu in any capacity in which that politician has, any capacity that politician has held, no, by all means, do. You will not find one.
We're not here to find you a politician.
Wait, let me ask her a question.
It's from the cost of living. That's why. So do you note that before you answer? Go ahead.
Yes, now she said, she was asking me, so what if Obi and Atiku who have hijacked the protest? Well, we are a democracy, and we change governments via elections. So when you lose an election, you wait for the next election cycle to try your luck again. You don't go try to upstage a validly democratically elected government by hiding through under the smoke screen of a so-called nationwide protest that is actually just a ruse for mayhem, for chaos, for even to the extent of insurrection. I'm not accusing my sister here of, no, they mean well. They are genuinely aggrieved. You understand? What I would just say to her is, if my sister can tell me what this protest will achieve, what good this protest, so-called protest will do, I will join her and lead the protest.
Well, that is trying to stop the protest. They said no, it's not true.
No, but if the truth is that,
even though you defend anybody to protest,
hello,
right.
Yes, why not? Now the truth is that
threat of violence, shouldn't security agencies,
the protest will not achieve anything.
Hold on a second.
We're talking about protest. What did it achieve? Nothing.
Can I finish? When you're talking about, when there's a threat of violence, if a car burns down the road, there's threat of looting. If there's, I've covered the fire incident while people were trying to save their produce, people were looting.
Did you not cover NSAS protest?
I covered the NSAS protest. Listen to what I'm saying.
Shavali covered it.
Listen to what we're saying.
Nothing.
If there's a threat of violence, if there's a fear of looting, isn't that the job of security agencies to catch the criminals who will be doing this?
So it is,
are you saying they can't do that?
No.
So the fear of violence means you should throw the protest away.
My adorable sister, I don't know if you are a lawyer. In criminology, it is legitimate law enforcement procedure to discourage people from falling prey to the machinations of politicians who want to get power through the back door, who want to cause mayhem and chaos, as Peter Obi and Atiku Abubakar are doing.
You don't have the proof of that.
I do. I am a lawyer.
Let Dr. also respond.
It's a live program. It's not on you. It's on me. If they like, they can sue me. I said we have information, valid intelligence, that they are both encouraging people to cause mayhem. Not the genuine.
We know you're a lawyer, but at the same time, you also know that we cannot be vicariously liable. Just to put it out there.
No, not at all.
Part of the danger of the kind of leadership we are having today is the way lies are fabricated and made to seem beautiful. You cannot make a commendation. You see, there are certain words that are very ambiguous and they just mean nothing, or they can mean everything. This person is better. Give us the statistical evidence. What was the situation? What changed before this person came and after this person left? That is when we are able to say this is better than previous. You just don't use words. It's better. The performance is good. That is one. That is one. That is one. And secondly, because you know the government, unfortunately, these kind of things have made people to lose respect for government and its people. Because you see white in the face and you want to call it yellow, and you think that the people that are surrounding you or the people that are with you are daft. Secondly, the issue of the security. We have said this thing around
why should the people protest? You have agreed that protest is legitimate. It's a constitutional right. If there are any threats that the government has foreseen through its security, the DSS is there, all kinds of security agents are there, then what do you need to do? Get into work. Get into work. Fish them out. Ensure that you arrest those who do not have genuine intentions. If you are able to say, you just sit here and say, yeah, people like me, we have genuine intentions. So I represent many of those people out there ready for this protest. I'm in line with them. So if people like us therefore have genuine intention, so fish out those that don't have genuine intention, because we are also afraid of those that don't have genuine intention. But lastly, let me also say this. You know, the biggest threat we have today, it is not about the so-called opposition who is hijacking, who is not hijacking. The government and the ruling class has already hijacked this country. And the protest is shouting that, look, you don't own this country. 5% or less than 5% of those who constitute the ruling class that has hijacked 85% or more of our commonwealth does not own this country. It is time for us to say that, no, stop there. Let's sit down as citizens. Let us dialogue. And you talk about what is this. Let me just respond to the issue of saying what is this protest is not going to achieve or anything. I want to tell you that it has already achieved so much. If it has not achieved so much, the government should go and sleep and continue its daily business. Why the fidgeting? Why the fear? Why the Trump going around the country to bring out the traditional rulers and bring out youth that are hungry to come to Aso Rock and force them with some peanuts to come and say this or that? So why do you have to do that? Just go about your own business. Let the protesters go about their own business. At the end of the day, it is not going to touch you. It is not going to affect anything. So let's go about our own business.
Let's bring in our colleague in Lagos. For the avoidance of doubts, nobody is promoting violent protests. Because,
people are promoting violent protests.
Just a minute. The law is very clear. If anyone goes out there and foments trouble,
you see, doctor will not go out there to burn. Excuse me.
It's not about doctor now.
Please, no.
Hold on. Let Ayo come in. Let him ask you the question, so you respond to it.
There will be people who will go out there to burn buildings.
You've got the floor.
And she will not be able to stop them.
Mr. Nokwasa, can we just listen for just a second? Just a second. I mean, because the whole idea, I mean, what is already happening here? You're already raising tension and suggesting to people, and even to all the people who want to protest, that this is what is going to happen, that they're going to be shouted down. So let's have some civil conversation about this whole thing. The whole idea of this is to educate people on the pros and the cons of whatever activity. That is what this whole thing is about. So raising voices, I'm not sure if you are really communicating what you intend. And that's exactly what I want to speak to, communication. Now, one of the issues that Madam has raised with you that right there is that government isn't really communicating. And for those who have been watching this program, it's one of the issues we raise from time to time, communicating. It will seem like most of the time government is, rather than being proactive, reactive. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, is that most of the time we don't hear the voices of state governors to whom the people are closer. And it's only at times like this that people hear and feel the sentiments of government officials. Why is that the case? Can you hear me, Mr. Nokwasa?
The government is not communicating?
Yes.
Well, I would dispute that. I think the government has communicated adequately, at least to the best of its ability. Nothing is perfect, to the extent to which there might be shortcomings or drawbacks in the communicative strategies of the administration. That is to be expected. I'm sure improvements will be made. Everything is a learning curve.
Well, Mr. Nokwasa, just a quick one on that same issue of communication. Just a quick one, if you can hear me. We all know that information is not communication. Giving people information is not the same thing as ensuring that communication has occurred. So, are you talking about...
Yes, what is the point you are trying to make?
Okay, the question that I'm asking
yes,
is
with
whether or
respect
not,
to the
just
protest,
a second,
yes,
just a second, would this protest be necessary if government had adequately communicated and gotten the buy-in of the people?
Yes, you see, first of all, people have a right to protest. What we are saying is that other people who lost election, people who are insurrectionists, people who are secessionists, have hijacked the process and are plotting mayhem and brigandage and chaos. That's the point we are making. And I'm not here as a government official. I am, of course, a Tinubu supporter. I'm a patriot of my country. I am chairman Tinubu Media Support Group. I support my president. I support my country. However, it is clear that people who lost the election are fully in support of this, what is basically mayhem and riot under the guise of protest. Now, if you say it is a question of communicating with the people that has led to like people like Dr. here who generally have grievances about hunger and poor service delivery, which we all acknowledge. It's a work in progress. You have a president that is barely a year and a few months.
It's one of those things that continues to
you have to give him time.
Me. Yeah,
Hello,
it continues to tickle me. I think a point has been made that you have made, and you are just repeating the same thing that you've been saying earlier. Just a second, just 1 second. Well, let me go to Madam, with you right there. The point you have made is the point you have been making since this program began, and that is noted. But Dr. Howard, let me ask you, do you think, or would you agree with him when he says that government has significantly and adequately communicated with people? Because my question remains, if government has communicated with the people to the extent that people really understand what is going on, do you think this protest will be necessary?
On 29th of May 2023, when this president was being sworn in, the very first statement that came out of his presentation or his acceptance speech, whatever, was about fuel subsidy is gone for good. What happened? The implication of that was that the price of petroleum shot up by more than 300%, with ripple effects on every other thing. The cost of living skyrocketed. Inflation went haywire. Today we're talking about food inflation of about 40-something%. The cost of living pushed inflation at about 34%. And at what point did he communicate? At what point did the government communicate to the people to say, look, we are going to remove subsidy totally 100%, of which many of us don't even believe there was a subsidy. But for whatever it is, we are going to do something that was going to lead to an increase in the cost of petroleum. And then this government that you say has been part of governance for so long would know naturally that there are implications to every kind of policy statement and policy action you take. Whom, at what point did you communicate? At what point and where and how did you communicate with people? Who are these people we are talking about? The people are not, when you sit down with traditional rulers or religious rulers that we know are not representing themselves, are representing themselves and not the people. That they do not even know where the pains of the people are is. Not to talk about how to feel the pains of the people. So
if I can quickly follow up, just a second, madam. If I can quickly follow up on this question, on the issues that you have raised. If you would remember, you would recall that part of the statement that the president made on May 29, when last year, when he was giving his acceptance speech or whatever it is, was that because of the actions of the previous government, they have already removed subsidy, therefore subsidy is gone. That is what he said there. We may go back, anyone may go back to the speech when he read it and get that. However, the question I will also want to ask you is, there are several times when we're talking about governance, bad governance and all of that, everyone is always looking at the president or the presidency or the federal government. Not often do we look at the implications of the actions of governors, of the houses of assembly, where a lot of money is pushed at, yet it seems like we're just cutting the governor some slack. Don't you think people should also, as we are calling out the federal government, even more so, call out the governors in the states where they reside?
First of all, making a policy statement without caution, without weighing the implication of that statement, and without communicating, discussing, getting into dialogue on the possible implications of that statement is no communication. So the president only made a statement that he did not communicate. I disagree. He did not communicate. Then, in terms of governance, the 3 tiers of government, who is responsible for who? Yes, we know everybody is responsible. But then, at the end of the day, when they talk about Nigeria as a country, when we talk about the indices that define growth and development, that define people's satisfaction in the country, the bulk lies on the table of the president. After all, even governors and chairpersons at different tiers of government, they are products of certain political parties. And the majority, the ruling political party has the majority hold across the 3 tiers of government. If you had the time and the muscle and all the resources to bring in traditional rulers, why do we react? Why didn't you speak? How often do you speak with your governors and the local government chairperson to say that, look, each time we give you monthly allocation, we also want to monitor and see how you spend this allocation. We also want to see, and monitor to see how this spending also translates into development and growth. I want to get based on human development indices in your community.
Mr. Onokpasa,
this is communication.
You started off by letting us know that you're a strong supporter of the President Tinubu administration. Many people are. Have you heard from his administration recently saying that many people who sound like you, who are saying things that you're saying right now, are demarketing him because he doesn't hold the same views? We heard that yesterday from his spokesperson, Ajirin Gelali. He said, look, even people from this government who are telling people do not protest are not speaking the mind of the president.
Well, that is
because the president himself said everyone is allowed to protest. We have security agencies that can take care of whatever miscreants want to take over the process.
That is Ajuri's headache. If Ajuri said that somebody who is discouraging people from protesting is going contrary to the president, Ajuri does, with respect, he does not know what he's talking about. We have freedom of speech. If it is clear that people are going to hijack a protest and turn it into a riot, then the reasonable thing to do is to discourage good people like Dr. here to share protests and channel their energies into something better, like supporting their president to fix their country. Dr. Mustafa said something about a policy statement made on inauguration day of removal of subsidy. President Tinubu never made any policy of removing subsidy. President Tinubu did not remove subsidy. Subsidy was removed by an act of parliament, a statute. By the peer, you cannot even pay subsidy. It's illegal.
Subsidy was suspended. That section was suspended by the former president.
Because it cannot be suspended. The former president was breaking the law by paying the subsidy. And he did not even have money. A president does not have a right to break the law. And we cannot be encouraging presidents to break the law.
Even though he went through parliament?
President Tinubu is a Democrat. He could not break the law. 2, there was simply no money, Shambale, to pay subsidy. If we kept paying subsidy, our entire economy would have collapsed by now. There's no money to pay subsidy. Rather, what we should be doing is thinking of how we can invest massively in agriculture.
We're winding down now, but when you listen to you now, we'll blame the president.
I said even President Tinubu will defend the right of anybody to protest against himself.
Okay.
But we cannot.
All right. Let's allow Dr.
But
before
protest is not riot. There's a difference.
Nobody said they want to riot.
They want to riot.
They use the word protest.
No.
That's the meaning you impute to it.
If people
doesn't mean that is what it is.
Identify people's houses, go and identify
that's
people's
your understanding of the whole thing.
That is what that's what happened during NSAS.
Dr.
That's
Mustafa.
the truth.
The security persons have also demanded from the leadership, of the protests to also provide their names, to provide their addresses and all kinds of details about them. So what's wrong with that? What is wrong with people also demanding to have details of information from the government? If the government is demanding from the people. Look, you see this attitude of governance, and that's what we talk about, bad governance. This bad governance is simply a situation where we find our country today, where a group of people feel that they own the country, they are in power, and so they can dictate at their own whims and caprices what should be done and how it should be done, and that they are supported by the might of the security that should protect the people, and that they are supported by the might of the security to unleash mayhem. If anything happens untoward during this protest, the government will be held responsible. I can assure you this. If you have anything concrete, we are not part of Peter Obi and Atiku, but we also recognize that they also have the right to want to join the protest if they so wish. However, the world has to know.
They should wait till 2027.
Bola Tinubu lost election when he was also on the streets protesting against Jonathan. Did he not protest? Have we arranged that history? So what is important is that the government we want to be civil. We want to be civil and we want to be honest with ourselves. This country belongs to us all. We were all protesting. The youth and all those who want to protest.
Unfortunately, we're out of time. We need to anchor at this time.
Let us dialogue. Let us hold this country together.
Dr. Mustafa.
Now you are talking. Let's dialogue.
Yes, the protest will force in dialogue.
So there you go.
Never wants dialogue.